afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a Monday edition of On Cue. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones, and we got about an hour to play with as we are coming at you live inside the friendly confines of the SR 1029 FM The Game remote studios. Get social with me. Very easy to do on X and, of course, IG at Rich Q on Q. You can check out the AUDACY app and download it, and then search Coastal Sports Digital Network, SR 1029 FM The Game. That's where you'll get me Monday to Friday. If you tuned in last week, we rolled Monday to Saturday. But I hope everyone had a good sports weekend. You are enjoying your 16th of March, 2026. Had a good sports weekend, enjoying your Monday. As I mentioned, a lot to get into. Very easy to connect with me, let your voice be heard, and or the comments, hashtag on cue. So here we go. March Madness, the tournament is set. The bracket is set. So I guess everyone can cry over who got snubbed, who got in, who should have gotten in, who didn't get in, who deserved to get in. Why did these guys get in? I almost felt like it was like part of the Oscars last night, which, oh, by the way, I watched. Very disappointed. And you guys know I'm a movie guy. Very disappointed. I thought there were some hit or miss moments, but we will get into that as well. NFL, Jets making a move. Eagles welcoming back a safety valve. We will get into that. But I want to start with the tournament, March Madness, because as I mentioned, no matter what, there's always going to be a team and or teams that got snubbed. Now, you look at, if you're going against the chalk yesterday, I thought going into yesterday's Selection Sunday. Now, first of all, I'm a St. John's guy, right? So I'm watching St. John's dismantle UConn. They pulled away in the second. The defense was unbelievable. I thought maybe if anything, I even text my buddies this, keep them out of the East because I know they were going to have to deal with Duke, Michigan State, Kansas. Keep them out of the East. I don't want to deal with it. Give me at least a 4 seed. Oh my God, I would have loved a 3. They're not getting a 1. So here's the chalk. You've got Duke, Michigan, Arizona, Purdue, and Houston. They're pretty much all your short odds to win it. They're all your short odds. Now, if you look at the seedings, the number 1, Duke, obviously, what else is new? Out of the East, which, oh, by the way, St. John's is a 5, which makes no sense, and you got to go out west. I don't like that matchup. I don't think they're losing Friday. But you got Duke sitting there as your top, right? Because Duke is Duke, and we always know they're always going to be in the East. Florida coming out of the South. Michigan in the Midwest. So those two teams respectively get the winners of the play-in games. And then you have Arizona against Long Island coming out of the West. Now, on face value, I would sit here and tell you a couple things. The conference tournaments, when it comes to March Madness, pretty much mean absolutely nothing. So those that are clamoring, those that are sitting there and all pissed off, and I'll get to Bruce Pearl in a second because he's a freaking clown. But those that are sitting there talking about a team like Oklahoma, right? They finished 19-15, 7-11. They didn't have a winning record in the SEC. They were a sub 500 team. They had a 9-game losing streak. No realistic hope, right? But again, they kind of turned it around. They had to win over Vandy, Georgia. They kept the momentum going. They took down South Carolina, Texas A&M. They pushed Arkansas. But 19-15, 7-11 in the division, 7-11 in the conference, to me, that's not going to get you in. It's not. San Diego State, you could have made a case for San Diego State, 22-11, 14-6 in their conference. And look, they had the non-league play. They had the double overtime loss to Troy. They dug themselves in a hole. I think they were the 12th. They had to go 12 trips, right, including that Mountain West title in the past 15 seasons. They lost 9 times. I think basically they had a bid until they started to struggle a little bit, and they lost that bid. New Mexico, 23-10, 13-7 in their conference. And you look at the non-league wins, and you can't fault teams for that, but you penalize them when they lose. The non-league wins, Santa Clara, VCU, helped the profile, 8-8 against 500, 8-8 against those top quadrant teams. Then you had Indiana, 9-11 in Big Ten's not going to cut it. 18-14. I thought 21 wins maybe would help them. You look at their WAB 52 strength of RSOR 50. 3-4 quad 2, 3-10, quad 1. You had that dud against Northwestern. I think that sealed their fate. Then you have Auburn. And if you listen to what we talked a little bit about last week, I mean, after a while, you just get tired of listening to Bruce Pearl. You really do. I mean, he just sounds like an absolute jackass. Seriously, just a jackass. So he's up there during the selection show and even prior to, pretty much waxing poetic about Auburn. So, of course, he's going to push Auburn because his son coaches at Auburn, Stephen Pearl. He took over the role in 2025 after Bruce retired. So we don't know if Bruce Pearl's still on that payroll, but the bottom line is this. Auburn, to me, 17-16 overall, 7-11 in the SEC, 7-15 record against quad 1 and quad 2 opponents. Okay? You can make the case, second, third team out behind Oklahoma, lost in the SEC tournament to Tennessee. I thought that hurt them, getting an automatic bid. You also saw some of these smaller conferences grab a slot that we didn't expect were going to happen, which is always the case every single solitary year, is it not? That pretty much bumps bubble teams out. It always does. So again, I don't recall ever an at-large bid been awarded to a team with 16 or more total losses. And you're talking about a record of 17-16. That's one game over 500. So I don't think Auburn did enough. And I know everyone's going to make that case for Auburn down south. I get it. They had one of the nation's second toughest scheduled. Now, they beat a couple of pretty damn good teams, right? Florida, St. John's, Arkansas, Kentucky, NC State, Texas, other teams that were on the bubble. But I look at the metrics. It doesn't blow me away, to be quite honest. They were 4-13 in quadrant 1, 11-16 against the top 3 quadrants. They played a lot of good teams, but they lost to most of them. So no matter what Bruce Pearl is shoveling on the TV set, I'm not buying it. I'm really not. You know, the fact that you're questioning or, you know, making the case against Miami, Ohio to earn an at-large bid ahead of Sunday show and you're lobbying for Auburn to get in the tournament was a freaking disgrace. I mean, seriously, it really was. You know, and then you get UMBC with the little shot, right? You know, just realize the best part of having an auto bid is that we don't need a relative going on TV to try to explain why we deserve to be in the over 30 win. Nice little shot. Thank you very much. Right? SMU wrote, we can't all be named Pearl. I mean, listen, and they're 100%. So Bruce Pearl can sit there and push all he wants, beating Florida, beating St. John's, beating Arkansas, tough schedule. But again, look at the full body of work. And the last time I checked, 17-16 is not getting you in. Okay? They're not getting in. So everyone's going to wait for the other shoe to drop. SMU is going to face Miami of Ohio on Wednesday as part of the first 4. UMBC is going to face Howard on Monday in the first 4. So any one of those teams that gets bounced, you're going to hear it from Pearl, who's just going to just motor. And like I said, I think, again, listen, I didn't need to hear it, to be quite honest with you. I thought it was embarrassing. And the other thing is, don't tell me when Jay Wright was sitting up there and he was trying to push for Nova, their resume spoke for themselves. It's apples and oranges, man. So you know what? If you're friggin' Auburn, if you're Stephen Pearl, if you're Bruce Pearl, go have friggin' fun at the NIT if you're going to take it. But there's absolutely no way that I'm allowing a 17-16 team, one game over 500, to get in. I'm just not. And you can bubble this, bubble that. I don't care. You lost in the SEC tournament to Tennessee, and that hurt. That hurt your chances. It really did. And I know I get a lot of college hoops. I get a lot of SEC guys. I get a lot of college basketball fans chiming in. But no team with 16 losses ever received an at-large bid. And can we also talk about the fact over their last 12 games, they were 3-9, 7-15 quad 1 and 2. That was too weak to overcome, period. So you take on and you beat Mississippi State in the first round of the SEC tournament, and then you lose to Tennessee. So just go away, Bruce Pearl. Go away, Auburn. Go away, Tigers. Have fun in the NIT. National Invitation Tournament. We are inviting you. Here you go, because you didn't get it. You didn't get it. So we'll get your thoughts on the teams where the bubbles burst. I'm kind of pissed off with St. John's. I really am. Not I'm pissed at St. John's, but I'm disappointed that they got that 5 seed. Now, I don't believe they're going to lose on Friday to Northern Iowa, but I hate that 12-5. I don't know if this is just the selection committee, college hoops, taking it out on Patino because they don't like Patino. And I think Duke is a beatable team. But think about this. If St. John's wins against Northern Iowa and then they beat, and let's assume Kansas, they're going to have an opportunity to go to the Elite Eight. They'll have to get through Duke. I don't see Duke losing against Siena. I don't think Ohio State or TCU is going to beat Duke. Now, the other story to come out over the weekend in college basketball, and I think this does change the complexion, okay, of the tournament a little bit. Aiden Holloway was arrested on felony marijuana charges. That's Alabama's second leading scorer. He's a good guard. He's a 6'1", 6'2" guard. Scored 18, 19 points in the loss to Ole Miss in the opening round of the SEC tournament. But again, you're talking about, second leading scorer. Okay, check that. Second leading scorer, 17 a game in 2025, 2026. They've been on a roll, winning 9 and 11. So we'll see. Now, they'll play Hofstra and Tampa on Friday. I got a lot of St. John's fans already. Yeah, you got to go out west. It's brutal. All right, let's open it up. 13 past 4 o'clock hour. Get your thoughts on the tournament. As far as the NFL, which we will get into in about 10 to 15 minutes, Dallas Goedert back with the Philadelphia Eagles, 1-year deal. You got Trey Lance agreeing to a deal to return to the Chargers. And you had the Jets trading Justin Fields to the Chiefs for a 2027 pick because, Kansas City's not 100% confident with Patrick Mahomes coming off that injury. So we got a lot of football. We got some NBA. We got March Madness. We'll break down the games and the brackets later on in the week. But as I mentioned, about 45 to play with today. We'll take a quick time out. We will get to your comments on the other side. Keep it locked in. We'll mix in a little baseball. 13 past 4 o'clock hour, a Monday edition, a Lunes Manolo Mentioso Locador de Radio Man Up Monday edition of On Q. I guess if I'm going to man up on anything, I'll probably have to man up on some of my piss poor Oscars predictions. It just was so long last night. Oh my God. I get it. Start at 7, but can you get out of there by 10 o'clock, 9:30? And imagine too, if they actually do go to YouTube in a couple more years, these guys are going to be sprouting off speeches for 25 minutes, 30 minutes. It's going to be horrible. That show is going to last 2 friggin' days. All right, quick timeout. We'll come back. We'll get to your comments as well on the other side. All right, 15 past 4 o'clock hour. Let's crank it up. Let's crank it up. Let's crank it up. We'll get to the comments as well. Monday edition. So we got a lot of the March Madness. You got the teams that got snubbed, the bubble teams. As I told you, the short odds for the tournament. I thought, again, at the end of the day, you're always going to get a couple teams that get left out on the other side of the fence, on the other side of the velvet rope. And again, I don't want to hear from Auburn fans. I just don't. He's a clown, Bruce Pearl. Like I said, 17-16, 3-9 down the friggin' stretch, 7-15 versus quad 1 and 2. Go friggin' enjoy the NIT. Okay? Go enjoy the NIT. Yeah, I get it. You're trying to push for your son. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Sarge chimes in, Q, I didn't watch the Oscars one bit, but I did see my man Michael B won. Yes. I didn't think that was a shock and surprising. So this is probably a not popular opinion, but I did not like the movie one battle after another. I thought it was horrible. I just didn't like it. And everyone was talking about who was going to get shut out. I mean, think about it. You get Selection Sunday, then we're talking about who's going to get shut out, who's not going to get shut out. I think the only thing, if you go when they do the really nice in memory, right? They miss some people that passed away. I thought they could have done a little more with Robert Duvall. I thought they had a nice set spot there for Diane Keaton. I love what they did with Robert Redford when you had Babs, when you had Barbara Streisand come out. They forgot Eric Dane. They forgot Bridget Bardot. They forgot James Vanderbeek, right? But that happens sometimes, and you don't know when they, basically edit everything in. I thought there were some goofy, kind of awkward moments. I thought the opening mono by Conan O'Brien, when they did the little spoof on weapons, I love that movie. I thought it was crazy. I like that. Chalamet got shut out, right? Marty Supreme. So, I mean, listen, the whole, Sinners, Michael B. Jordan, I thought deserved the award. I mean, I thought he was fantastic. I saw that movie. I did not see the Marty Supreme. I told you I did Weapons. I liked. Leo was good, but I didn't think it was Leo's best performance. Leo's best performance to me, I mean, believe it or not, even early on in his career, the Basketball Diaries, he was phenomenal. But I loved him in The Revenant. Obviously Titanic made him a star. The Departed, he was fantastic, right? Gangs of New York, fantastic. I mean, he's a generational actor. And I don't think Michael B. Jordan, I thought it was awesome. He went to In-N-Out Burger afterwards, man. I mean, he's just a likable dude, right? And Jersey guy, just a likable guy. And he's a hell of an actor. So I was very happy for him. I think some guys just have to wait. I think sometimes you're not just like anything else, like in sports, you're not going to get handed a trophy. You're not going to get handed an MVP. You got to go out and earn it, and you got to work you have to have a body of work, right? The tie was surprising. It happens. Sean Penn wasn't there. I know they kid about that. He was, I believe, in the Ukraine. Everyone knew Sean Penn was going to win. So, like I said, again, all in all, long night for the Oscars. I was probably about 75% clip on some of my picks. Joanne chimes in, I'll take a really good mid-major over 17 and 16 SEC team. You were barely 500. Have fun in the NIT. I echo those sentiments 100%. People love to watch a tournament for the Cinderella mid-majors, not mid-P5 schools that couldn't handle business in conference. We want the reason we watch the tournament, and you're dead on accurate. Years ago, what did we always say? Oh my God, are we going to see a 16 seed win? Are we going to see a 16 beat a 1? Are we going to see a 15? Then what became the norm? 12-5, right? 13-4. 15-2 was the rarity, right? We love upsets. We love upsets all the time in the tournament. We really do. We really do. And obviously, UMBC finally broke through in 2018 when they beat Virginia. And that game wasn't even close. That was 74-54. Remember FDU did against Purdue? So, we've seen it. So the days of, oh my God. Now, you put it in context. Before 2018, 16 seeds were 0-135 against number 1 seeds. Remember the great runs, the Princeton teams, the Valpos, the VCUs, the ODUs, we love those the Iowa States. We love those upsets. We love them. It's just like the 15-2. Princeton was the 11th and 15th seed to defeat a number 2. They beat Arizona, if you recall. Remember St. Pete's took down Kentucky? Santa Clara back in the tournament. First time since Steve Nash. Love it. Love it. And I saw how that one team lost. They had an opportunity to tie in their conference final, and they missed the dunk. That was brutal. But I believe this season there are a boatload of teams that can win it all. I really do. I don't believe that even Duke, Arizona, they're good teams, not great teams. Florida, Michigan. I believe these teams can trip up, and we'll go a lot through the bracket, a lot more. But as I said, you've got some good 8-9 matchups. You got some good 12-5, Akron, Texas Tech, 12-5, Clemson, Iowa, 8-9. It might go chalk, right? It might go chalk. By the way, first 4, NC State, Texas, SMU, Miami, Ohio, Howard, UMBC, Lehigh, and Prairie View. Scotty Boy chimes in. Rock, chalk, Jayhawks. Let's go. Kansas. Let's go, Kansas. The March. Man chimes in. Happy Monday. You mean happy Man Up Monday. Lunes Mentioso Manolo Locutor Radio. Scott says, it's been a good minute. Good to listen to you again, Q. Have you ever heard of the story of the greatest hockey player that never was? If you haven't looked it up, it's hilarious, isn't it? I might have to. Listen, I'm all good. I like looking up stories. I might have to just Google that during a break. The greatest hockey player that never. Is that like the 30 for 30 with Marcus Dupree? Remember that 30 for 30 Marcus Dupree? The greatest that never was? Where he actually predicted he was actually going to tear up his knee. Taro Sumoto, fictitious Japanese ice hockey player who selected in the 1974 NHL amateur draft as the 183rd overall pick by the Buffalo Sabres. The decision to draft a non-existent player was made by Sabres general manager. You know what? I'm going to have to. I'm already locked in on that. I am. Remember the Florida Gulf Coast run? That's right. Dunk City made a Sweet 16. Yeah. Florida goes. Yeah. That was a great run. There are some. Remember VCU? Shock. There have been some great runs. There have been some really great runs in March Madness. I mean, look, all you have to do is look no further than 1983, Jimmy V, survive and advance, right? So to me, there are runs that I believe we forgot. I really do. Remember Navy and David Robinson? There are runs that sometimes we just forget. I mean, I'm not going back to say like 1970, 71, 70, Jacksonville. That's not where I'm going. But remember 86, if you were alive, right? Some of you guys weren't. Navy had a great squad. 1992, UTEP. Remember Chattanooga in 1997, the Mocs? They were number 14. They knocked out number 3, Georgia, number 6, Illinois. They played Providence. You boys from Providence? Within 71-65, and then they lost that one. Kent State, the Golden Flashes, Butler in 2003. Bradley had a run about 20 years ago. LaSalle had a run. Dayton had a run, right? Who was that? The Sister Jean, right? There's great runs. That's the beauty of March Madness. What do we got here? Rumor has it Q is an excellent Googler when it comes to movie quotes. I'm actually the GOAT. I mean, there should be a Mount Rushmore. Okay? A Mount Rushmore. If there is, I'm by myself. Like, you know, how you sit there and you put like the all time, you put like John Wooden, Coach K, Bobby Knight, Rick Pitino. If we're talking about, movie quotes, I stand alone. I'm like Tom Hanks in Castaway. I'm just by myself, just ripping off movie quotes left and right. There's never good, especially if you get softball ones. Come on, ridiculous. There was a 30 for 30 short about a young baseball player that was supposed to be an unreal baseball player, then get accused of some stuff with a young girl that ended up not being true. Okay, I need a little more context to that. I can't remember his name. All right, why don't you Google it? Why don't you Google it? There have been some very good 30 for 30s. Oh my God, here we go. Auburn Al chimes in Q. There you go. You're just punking on Bruce Pearl. Give me a friggin' break. I thought his son did an excellent job. I think the voters actually, the selection Sunday, they screwed Auburn. You're talking about the quad and overall record. Why not be a first for a 17 and 16 squad to get in? Just stop. Auburn Al. What the hell kind of handle is that? Jackass. I don't want to hear from. I don't want to hear it. Kevin chimes in, Key, I'm a big Johnny's fan. I did think that the selection committee just doesn't like Rick Pitino. I thought St. John's got screwed. I really did. And it also teaches you what? Winning your conference tournament means absolutely nothing. It means absolutely nothing. So I just, at this point, whatever. Prop Towns in. St. John's top robbery. Vanderbilt is right there easily. Could have been 3 seed. Nebraska, Kansas, North Alabama should be 4 seeds. Q Tennessee is 6, much better than that. Tar Heel should be like a 7-ish. He also says, I got UConn, Virginia, Wisconsin. UNC is most vulnerable. Top seeds. Kansas is going to be gone too if Peterson doesn't play. Yeah, listen, Miami to me, so it's hard to go undefeated in the regular season, but got to play the quad one team at least 1 to 2 times, right? So I don't know, man. If St. John's would have played some of those other top teams and won, by the way, they were 9-6. Then they went 18-1 over their last 19. They beat UConn 2 or 3 times. Now, that middle game, they got hammered. They got hammered by UConn. They scored 40 points. They got destroyed. But they also won back-to-back Big East tournaments. So what that tells me is come Sunday in March, Selection Sunday, nobody gives a damn if you win your tournament. They just don't. What hurt St. John's is they had the loss to Alabama. They had the loss to Auburn. They had a bad loss to Kentucky where they were in that game and couldn't hit their shots late. The Providence loss, not good, but I think they got royally screwed as a 5 seed. I could have made a case for 3, definitely 4, and stick them out of the East. Come on, just stop. Stick them out of the East. Why do you have to stick them in the East? Why? That makes no sense. It just makes no sense. You're going to stick them in there with friggin', you got to worry about Duke again? They got hosed. They got and I'm not saying it because I'm a St. John's fan. They got absolutely hosed. There's no other way to say it. None. So you already know who's going to be these top teams. Duke, Michigan, Arizona, Florida. There's your chalk, okay? There's your chalk. That's it. SEC, we know it's a stiff conference because you had 10 tournament teams. Big 12 had 3, and 3 of the top 8 seeds. Okay? So now you look at Duke. So Duke's the top team, the top seed. They beat Virginia. They're repeaters ACC champs. Fine. Michigan could have made a case for number 1, but they lost to Purdue in the Big Ten title game. Okay, fine. Now, Auburn and Oklahoma, they were the first left out of the field. As we talked about, 17 and 16, brutal schedule. The Tigers would have set a record for most losses by an at-large pick. It's not happening. Enjoy the friggin' NIT. So the SEC had a very good Sunday. Miami and Ohio, you catch a break, you're going to be nearby Dayton, Ohio. That's like a stone's throw. That's an hour's drive from the campus. You're good. You're good. Virginia basically had a nice little run to the finish line. They get to number 3. Oh, and they're in the West. There you go. There you go. Okay, that's fine. So now let's get to the losers. It's St. John's. It's St. John's, man. That's just horrible. I mean, think about this region that they're in: Duke, Connecticut, Michigan State, Kansas. I mean, hell, even if they got through Duke and played UConn in the Elite Eight, now you're saying beat a team 3 times in one season. And I got to deal with that prick Hurley. I can't stand him. Oh my God. Every time they stuck the camera on him, get him off the friggin' screen, will you? It's just, to me, you're a Big East champion and you topped out as a number 5 seed. You won the Big East regular season title. You closed with a flourish against UConn. And now you got a Northern Iowa team. I don't like the matchup. I think they win on Friday, but I don't like the matchup, period. George Mason had a great run. DB. Go Gators. Yes, he did. Yeah, 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 yeah. You had to spot check that. I actually posted that on X. Yeah, that's Hurley saying we suck. Yep. Kevin says, Q, you're 100% correct. St. John's got screwed. Greg chimes in, Keen, I'm a St. John's guy, but no way they were any better than a 5 seed. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So, Florida's interesting, right? So it's not going to matter who the Gators play and where. But if you go by chalk, if things go to plan, Florida makes the Elite Eight, they can face Houston in Houston. That would be a rematch of last year's title game. North Carolina, right? They're going to be playing in South Carolina, so you got a UNC presence. I think the selection committee, they just don't like Pitino. They just don't like Pitino, and they decided we're going to screw him. And by the way, Rick Pitino, he's an all-time great head coach. I mean, everywhere this man has gone, he has just been a program builder and bringing it to credibility, respectability. I mean, people forget this guy took Providence to the Final Four. I know some of you are laughing when I say Providence. Yeah, he is. Give that guy the Luca Brasi ban. St. John should not be a 5 seed. They shouldn't. They shouldn't. They shouldn't. They should not be a 5 seed. I agree. I would have been happy with a 3. I'm more pissed off that they're coming out of the East and it's stacked. All right, I mentioned some NFL stuff. Dallas Goedert returns on a 1-year deal with the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know if that's going to move the needle for you guys. I did think it's interesting that the Jets traded Justin Fields to the Chiefs. They got a draft pick in return. We talked a lot. I posted this Friday and then Saturday. We talked a lot about the quarterbacks, but I did cut a real quick, about 12 to 15-minute video on the running backs in the NFL. And I gave you 3 to 4 running backs that I think are going to decline in 2026. We'll talk a little more about that later on the week. As far as the Eagles, again, you're bringing back a safety valve. That's really all that is. You're bringing back a safety valve for Dallas Goedert. Now, by getting the deal done, it's pretty simple. What the Philadelphia Eagles avoided a dead cap hit of more than, I think it was $20 million. And I still don't know what they're going to do with A.J. Brown. And quite frankly, I don't care at this point. If a deal gets done, a deal gets done. That's fine. Q, what'd you think? This is Joe. Q, what'd you think of the Giants signing Mooney? Took him away from the Eagles. Yeah, I know the Eagles were actually interested in Darnell Mooney. I like that deal. Another weapon for Jackson Dart. He's a good wide receiver. I like that deal. I really do. Too, another sneaky move that the Giants made was Calvin Austin. So you let Tennessee overpay for Wan'Dale Robinson. That's fine. And you bring in Austin. You bring in Mooney. And you also have Neighbors coming back off an injury. I like what the Giants have done. I mentioned that. I like what the Giants have done. Matty Boy, Jets fan Q. I have no problem with the Jets trading, but they're definitely going to have to bring in another backup to compete with Geno. They're not going to. That's the problem. And Matt is a huge Jet fan. I believe the Jets signing. I had a conversation the other day with a very good football mind, ex-player, actually played with the Jets. Basically, to paraphrase, he said he has no idea what the hell the Jets are doing, and the moves they're making are, in essence, setting up Aaron Glenn to fail. Just to paraphrase. Now, again, if you back me in a corner and ask me what I think of Aaron Glenn, I don't think he's a very good head coach, but I also think it's a mistake in early March to name Geno Smith week 1 starter. I think that's a mistake. I think that's a mistake. I really do. I think you're setting yourself up to fail. And you want another backup to come in and push a little bit. Okay. Box 6 chimes in. Q, I know you're a boxing guy. Did you see the deal between DAZN and Top Rank? I saw that 8 to 10 dates per year. That's good for Top Rank. And my buddy actually just got hired at head of content for DAZN. But that's good. That's good for Top Rank. Get him back in the game. Get him back in the game. Why not? Got some good fights coming up too. Some really good fights coming up, which you can check on the Double Jab podcast that we fire off every week. All right, let me get to some more of these. Which direction? What do we got here? We got more of the March Madness. We got some Eagles stuff. Really didn't get too much into WBC, to be honest with you. What do we got there? Mark and Y for chimes in Q. Look at the bracket right now. Do you have any upsets cooking? I mean, it's Monday. You know, I just can't. I don't like to kind of rip through it. I think there's always a shot of a 12 beating a 5. You know, a 13 beating a 14, 11 beating a 6. VCU, North Carolina, that's not an easy game. You know, Penn is a 14 seed against Illinois. They've got some depth, but I haven't really looked too much at the bracket. I think the top seed, the top 4, I think that's pretty much, you know, when we say the chalk, I mean, those are your favorites, right? Those are your favorites. So you got to take it on face value, because a lot of these teams that are going to the tournament for the very first time, they're so juiced and they're jacked, they might hang around for a half. And then you start to see, you know, teams that have been there before. Like, look, Long Island is a great story. They really are. But let's be honest, they're not beating Arizona. They're just not. I think it's a great story. You know, NEC, here we go. If you follow, I follow those teams, right? New Haven, Wagner, Long Island, they won 14, 15, and 3 in their conference. I think they won 24 games, but they're not beating Arizona. That game's going to be competitive for maybe 10 to 15 minutes. Then maybe Arizona's up by 12, 13, going in the locker room, and then they're going to blow their doors off. I mean, you get that sometimes. And that's the other thing you got to be careful with. If you look at these games from a line standpoint, right? Because we all know Thursday and Friday, the first 2 days of the tournament, are fantastic. But I already started to do a look ahead, and some of these lines are ridiculous. Like Duke's laying close to 30 against Siena. Vandy's like 12.5. Michigan State's close to 17. Arkansas is 15. I'll tell you that line right now. Let me see if I can find. I think that's going to be a Friday game. So right now, Arizona is laying 32.5 against Long Island. So that might be a 10-6 after 3 to 4 minutes, 18-12. Then all of a sudden, 26, 18, 32, 14-ish, right? I know I'm going backwards. 36, 20 into the break, and then they just blow their doors off. because they're not going to match up. But it's a great story. It's great for these schools. And you also look, the possibility of hope is wonderful. But the lines tell you something with these games. Even the 13-14, Alabama and Hofstra. Alabama's laying 12 and a half. That game I just told you, that Arizona game, because Long Island doesn't have a very good offense. I mean, and Arizona has a really good defense. I mean, it's just the levels, right? There's levels to this. That total is 151. Are you going to get a 100 to 50 type of game? I don't think so. Are you going to get a 90 to 63? Yeah, I can see that. But there's always hope. That's why we watch. The first 2 days of the tournament, I think, are absolutely um, phenomenal. I really do. And I love, again, I love when you get those late games and you get the cut in, right? And all of a sudden, they take us to that next game and you get that 8 and 9 matchup. You get that 10-7 matchup. That Central Florida UCLA game is going to be a hell of a game. That line is only 4.5. UCF is a live dog in that game. But then you get to see like a team like Queen's University taking on Purdue, right? And if you've ever like know anything about Queen's University, you probably don't even know their nickname or what the conference they're playing in. But that'll be fun for those kids. But that's the beauty of it. You have an opportunity to be part of March Madness. And for a few lucky teams over the last 30, 40 years, some of them make a run, right? They have their quote one shining moment. And that is, like I said, that's why the first 2 days of the tournament are absolutely fascinating. They really are. They're so fun to watch. I mean, I remember back in the day, it was one of these situations where Thursday and Friday, my father was like, "You're not going to school today. Call out sick." Thursday and Friday. Usually my bracket is completely broken after 2 days. Yeah, I mean, the days of me doing the bracket are long gone because it was always get busted. Because, sometimes you pick these games with your heart, not your head, and that's okay. But we know the short odds and we know what teams are stacked. Like everyone expects Arizona, Duke, right? Maybe even Wisconsin, Kansas, Louisville, St. John's, maybe BYU, these teams to make a run in that top, that first quad, right? And then the South and the Midwest, Florida, Vanderbilt. I think Nebraska might be able to make a run, Texas Tech, Alabama, Virginia. Houston is a really good team. Houston is, I caught Houston a couple times this year. They're a very good team. And that Big 12 was a very, very tough conference. I mean, you had 6, 7 teams winning more than 20 games in that conference. So, as I said, you've got opportunities for some upsets, and it's always fun to watch. All right, 444, quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. All right, welcome back. 4:45, about 15 to play with. Tom Summers Point Q. Have you been watching any of the WBC? I have not. I've had basketball. I had the fights over the weekend. I couldn't even who's what do you got? Italy and Venezuela, right? The winner's going to play the U.S. I just haven't watched, and I'm wondering again. Um, you know, are novice baseball fans in the U.S. excited about this, or are you more excited watching, the U.S. against the DR? I'm just not into it. There's so much going on. You got March Madness, you got NFL offseason, you got the NBA, which again, I'm not gonna compare it to March Madness. Like I'm not, because March Madness absolutely floors and dwarfs the NBA. But we are coming down to crunch time in the NBA. Let's not mistake that. We're coming down to crunch time. We got like 15 something odd games left. And we kind of know how, these teams are jockeying for position. Detroit and Boston right now, they look like the top two teams in the Eastern Conference. But let me not blink with my Knicks, because they are only a game back of the Boston Celtics. The Knicks can get a 2 seed. Cleveland's faded a little bit. Orlando's faded. Toronto, Orlando's won 7 straight. But again, they got 38 wins. They're not catching the Detroit Pistons. I'm just saying, they're starting to ascend a little bit, but they're not going to catch those teams I mentioned. And then OKC is going to be the top team in the Western Conference. And the Lakers, all of a sudden, oh my goodness, 9-2 in their last 11. They won 5 straight. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're about to go on a run. I don't see it happening. But point is, I just have not been into the WBC. Because the NFL, everything going on with the NFL has just been crazy. We talked what was it? Friday, I had Lloyd Vance on. And I thought the two big moves that are not being talked about a lot, Kyler Murray going to Minnesota and Tua going to Atlanta. And I think right now, J.J. McCarthy and Michael Penix Jr., I think they're both done in the NFL starting quarterbacks. Like Kyler Murray is going to grab that. He is going to grab that job. And I would right now put a flyer in, comeback player of the year for Kyler Murray with all those weapons. And Tua, I think it's more of an indictment on Michael Penix Jr. Like I thought those were two big quarterback moves that we didn't talk about. And I'll tell you something else too. All these teams making moves. I know it's March 16th. And Steeler man, I'm sorry to say this. I'll say it right now. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are due to be a very bad football team. And they might have their first losing season in 20-something odd years. So to me, the quarterbacks have been taking shape. The running backs, which I mentioned on Saturday, that's up on the YouTube channel, the decline of some of these backs that I think are going to take a step back in 2026. You had all these trades, you had all these, the deal of rescinded with Baltimore and the Raiders and Max Crosby. You got A.J. Brown floating up there. You got Walker signing with Kansas. I mean, you got a lot of stuff going on in the NFL. And we haven't even touched on the draft, which is right around the corner. So, yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I'm not locked into the WBC. US versus DR was the game. That's what everyone tells me. That's what everyone's been saying. And I didn't even catch. I might have glossed over the highlights. Might have. I just think they need to take pressure off Brunson. That's all. They need to take pressure off Brunson. The Knicks can beat Cleveland, Orlando, Toronto. Do they match up against Boston now with Tatum? And by the way, if we're also being transparent, the Knicks lost to, who the hell did they just lose to? Oh my God. The Clippers. They beat a bad Jazz team. Okay. And they had a rally from 21 points down to beat the Warriors. And that's a bad basketball team. So the Knicks, to me, do they have the makeup to get to the Eastern Conference Finals? I still believe they do. But Brunson can't be the primary offensive threat and weapon. WBC is dumb. You know what else is dumb? The NFL having a commercial for the Flag Football Classic. How dare they call this stupid game a classic? Wait, I'll do you one better. How about the NFL thinking about having a Thanksgiving Day Eve game? I mean, what are we doing here? Are you serious? Remember that was a big go out the night before when we were young? But now we're talking about adding a Thanksgiving Eve game. So you have Monday, you're going to have Wednesday, you're going to have Thursday, you're going to have Black Friday, you're going to have, I mean, oh my God, what are we doing? Come Thursday, I don't want to watch 3 games. I have no idea what the hell they're doing. Why are they tinkering whatever? Well, we know why, because it's more money. We understand that. But come on, stop. Nick's better when Mitch is on the court. Been saying it all year. I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm not going to disagree with you at all. It's one of the reasons that it's one of the reasons I actually wanted them to go out and get Green because of defensive purposes. Now, offensively, we know that Robinson's limited, but he's going to give you energy. He's going to give you minutes. He's going to do the dirty work. Karl Anthony Towns, the problem is when I look at Karl Anthony Towns, I need 25 and 16, not 20 and 11. I need 28 and 16, not, 12 and 10. I need more. 17 and 12, 21. No, 25 and 16. Yeah, I need that. I need that. He's had a better March. I think he was more assertive even early on, I should say in February. And he only averaged 19 a game in February, but he had a stretch where he was 21 and 17, 22 and 16, 21 and 15. Like he was balling, but he's just a soft player. That's all that is. He's a soft player. And the problem with the Knicks is if they shut him down or he gets in foul trouble, the bulk of the offense, Dahonis, it's got to run through Jalen Brunson. And we've seen that before. Jalen Brunson, we're talking about a natural point guard. He's a scorer first and foremost. He's not looking to distribute the ball. He's looking to create a shot. It's one of the reasons he has so many turnovers. Talking about a player that's averaging 26, but will turn the ball over 3, 4, 5 times a game. And sometimes the turnovers are horrible. He's a great player, don't get me wrong. But you watch that game the other day, he had 4 turnovers. He had 3 against Indiana. He had 3 against Utah. I go back to the playoffs a couple years ago. He had 7 against the Lakers. When he turns the ball over, he turns the ball over. But that's what happens when you don't have secondary scoring options on that team. It's exactly what happens. All right, last time out. We'll come back. We'll close things up. All right, fast approaching 5. Don't forget, get connected with us on IG and X. As I mentioned, we dropped that show on Saturday. It was about, I would say, maybe 15 minutes. I talked about 3 or 4 backs, pretty much analyzing the certainty of backs declining. Later on in the week, we're going to talk a little more about the wide receivers. I'm going to give you 3 to 4 wide receivers that I think are poised to have a breakout 2026. Lloyd and I are going to start going through the draft. We're also going to pretty much break down. These are going to be short form shows, 12, 15-minute burst. Every team, offseason up to this point, and even the draft needs and where we see them going. We'll post those on the channel. So if you subscribe to the channel, fantastic. If you know any NFL fans, definitely share the channel. I'm going to appreciate you guys greatly. A couple more comments before we get out of here. Greg chimes in again. QQQ. The bottom line is this: can they get through Duke? You're talking about St. John's. I believe they can. I believe they can. As much as I say there are a lot of teams that are very solid and very good, look, Duke is worthy of the top seed in the country. I mean, they're 32-2, right? Their only blemishes, they had the very close loss to Texas Tech. They could have won that game late. And then they lost by 3 to North Carolina. So you're talking about a team that is 4 points in 2 losses, 34-0. And obviously everyone believes they have the consensus player of the year in Boozer. And Evans is a nice player. Foster's a nice player. Boozer's a good player. He's a really good player. And I've seen people sit there and say, yeah, I don't know if he's going to be number 1. He looks like, Hansborough, the type of game. Hey, man, he's good. He's good. Now, is he going to be the top player drafted? Well, it's always we always kind of leave it up for debate. And I believe stocks go up during March Madness. Now everyone's talking about the kid from BYU. Everyone's talking about the kid Peterson from Kansas, right? I think Boozer's in that top tier mix. But how many times have we seen, i.e., a Steph Curry, whose stock went through the roof when he was scoring 44 points in the tournament with Davidson years ago? So it's always fun to watch because you want to see, we're talking about these players that are projected to go number 1. And it's one of the reasons I think some of these teams in the NBA we know they're tanking. We know exactly what they're doing, right? I mean, Utah is one of them. And I think right now they're looking at this kid Peterson. They're looking at the kid from BYU, and I'm going to butcher his name, Dibansa, pardon me. And they're looking at Boozer. So the Bulls tank watch, right? 27-39. Memphis tank watch. Dallas tank watch. Utah tank watch. The Nets tank watch. Washington, oh my God, are you freaking kidding me? And then you got Sacramento. Who else? Indiana. I mean, that's what happens when you lose a franchise player, and they lost it in Halliburton. Indiana's what, 15-51? They're horrible. 15-53, pardon me. Oh my God. They lose 13 in a row. Ugh. Jeez. And these games haven't even, if you've been betting, if you've been leaning Indiana, they've been getting blown out. They lost by 13. They lost by 21. They lost by 24. They lost by 19. They lost by 13. They lost by 20. They lost by 15. They lost by 20. And they lost by, 11 the other night. So you got these players in the mix. All right, 16 of books on a Monday edition of On Cue. Back at it. Most likely Wednesday. We're going to try to fire off if we're not on the road tomorrow. Check out the show notes and the notifications, but back for Woosah Wednesday. A lot of the tournament we want to get into. I'll post out my final 4 thoughts as well. But as I mentioned, with the brackets and the tournaments, You got the first round games. Don't forget, tomorrow you've got the first four: UMBC versus Howard, Texas versus North Carolina State, and then Wednesday you got Prairie View against Lehigh and Miami, Ohio, SMU. If Miami, Ohio loses, Bruce Pearl's going to have a friggin' field day. Good stuff with the comments. Always appreciate you guys keeping us locked in on a Monday edition of On Cue. Don't forget, too, because we're on the air pretty much 6 to 7 times a week, and also with our other broadcasting entities, you can always subscribe, comment, check out the on-demand section of the show. We got a new episode of Overseas Dimes dropping, as well as Double Jab podcast later on the week. Jonathan Marshall, Costco on college hoops. Lloyd later on the week. Steve Gardner on baseball. And as I mentioned, a couple other guests that we're working on going forward. So we'll go very, very NBA heavy later on in the week. We will go March Madness heavy later on in the week as well. And you guys keep it locked in. You guys have a wonderful Sports Monday. As always, be safe, be sound. Don't forget, we're powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee, Three Brooks Bourbon. Get ready with tea. Played Against Sports, 2 locations, and of course, Pliable in Belmar. Have a wonderful Sports Monday. If not tomorrow, it'll be a funny Woosah Wednesday edition of On Cue. But as always, you guys have a good Sports Monday. We will talk to you then. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Hasta luego, mi día.